Welcome to The Current by TreasureCoast.com, where we discuss interesting people, places, and happenings on Florida's Treasure Coast.
Mayor Martin, thanks so much for joining us again. I'm happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, no, it's always good to talk to you and good to get some information out to the citizens of Port St. Lucie to really get some um, boots on the ground information for what they should know and what they can decipher, what they can look forward to, and not really get everything from like a social media post, but actually hear it from the source. And so I thought it would be good. You know, we were talking about this earlier. I thought it might be good to start with the USL, the soccer stadium, the soccer team coming because that was just announced yesterday. Do you want to touch a little bit on that before we hit the ground running?
Absolutely. So extremely proud to have announced that we are going to have professional soccer right here in Port St. Lucie at Walton One. And as I mentioned in our big announcement yesterday, what's so important about it being at that location is that that is our CRA, or community redevelopment area. We took on those 22 parcels several years ago. We did a master plan and asked our residents what they wanted to see in that location. And we really look at it as a destination point. As we all know, it was originally planned as Port St. Lucie's downtown, so to speak, many years ago. But it's really not a downtown in the sense that it's not in the center of Port St. Lucie. And so that's why we rebranded City Center to be Walton One. And we did that master plan with all those mixed uses, including sports and entertainment, retail, hotels, shopping, restaurant destinations. So we are really excited because this stadium and this partnership will truly be the catalyst for all the other things that are to come at that location at Walton One.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really cool. It's a very unique way to kind of anchor um, a kind of city center type of place to have a soccer stadium like that. And I know you had mentioned there it's going to be 6,000 seats just to basically gear up to the growth that they expect. They're going to be starting kind of at an entry level for the league, and in hopes of growing, they're kind of building it out with that in mind, right?
Absolutely. So they're going to start out as a League One team, and the owner group that is going to be hosting the team. They indicated that they want to be a championship league, so that is why they are building the larger stadium. It also includes 24 days for the city to be able to use the stadium for whatever we want to use it for. And they are very, very community oriented and community focused. They want to partner with the schools. They want to partner with the community soccer groups and the soccer leagues. We had some great kids and athletes from Mako Soccer there yesterday and the PSL Hurricanes there yesterday to be able to learn about what's going on at the stadium and celebrate with us. And then the other important thing for residents to know, and I really appreciate this because this ability to talk factually about what's happening in our city is really important to address some of the misinformation that's out there, is that there is no taxpayer money from the city's general fund being used for this project. The developer has to post a construction bond, a performance bond. It is all on them to pay for it. We are not guaranteeing any payment whatsoever of the developer's debt. And it is in that community redevelopment area, which means that tax increment funding is used in order to reimburse them for $27.5 million of the $80 million project. And how a CRA works is that all the at the time that the CRA is formed, there is a base value set, base taxable value set. And after that, as property values increase that are within the CRA over time, that money is the tax increment that is used to go back into the CRA for revitalization. So again, no taxpayer dollars. It's the increased value in the tax increment that goes back right into the CRA. And so any hotels that come in, any other businesses come in, and when those values are increased and they're paying those taxes, it all goes right back into the development. So that's a little bit of a misnomer that people think that this is like other projects that were done many, many years ago. It is absolutely not. one of the reasons why it took 2 years in order to get to this point is because we did some tough negotiating, and we wanted to make sure that we were protecting our residents and doing what was in the best interest of our residents. So sorry that was a little long-winded, but there's a lot to talk
No,
about.
I'm glad you touched on that because everywhere, I mean, everywhere deals with that, you know, especially on the Treasure Coast and Vero Beach with Three Corners, Kings Landing and Fort Pierce, recently Brightline and Stewart. That's a big, I mean, the heart of tradition was a
Yeah.
big thing. You know, people are always, you know, who's paying
Mhm.
for it and who's kind of digging in their pockets to have to come up to it. People are all, that's something that people really should know. So I appreciate you elaborating not just on that, but on the CRA itself, so people kind of get an idea of where that money comes from or who's going to be I guess tasked for paying for what. Do you want to talk about what might be expected around there? You had mentioned kind of like having an RFP and maybe a hotel or two in the area.
Yeah, so right now we are going to be going out for RFP for a destination hotel, at least one destination hotel, possibly two. And the whole idea of the destination hotel obviously is where people can come and stay and then enjoy, shopping and dining and sports entertainment, like going to a soccer game or another event that is going to be held at the soccer stadium. It's important to note that the soccer season is from March till October. So after the soccer season is over, the owners of the stadium will be using it for other concerts or other festivals or other things that they want. And of course, as I mentioned, the city gets to use it for 24 days a year. They are looking to be really part of the community and partner. So we want to be able to have it so that it is utilized year round, and create that destination point. We're looking at the idea where the hotel is on the upper floors and underneath it you have the retail and the restaurants. So really developing it out similar to the original plan, but then with the master plan that was redone, of course, incorporating the sports and the entertainment venues as well.
That's really interesting. I think that's really cool how you mentioned the retail on the bottom floor, just because you think of something more um, livable, walkable, kind of more of like a
Right.
like a city center, I guess would be a good word for it. Um, and that's really cool that,
Yeah.
so I didn't realize that the season goes from March to October. So kind of really the hot months of the year, you know, is going to be soccer. I mean, hot, literally, like the summer months is kind of the soccer season.
Yes.
And when it comes, you know, into season, the cooler months is probably when the city can use some of those days for different events, or maybe the ownership will become integrated with other events that are going on in the community. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah, and it's also, if you think about it, it's when snowbird season is not in effect. So,
Yeah.
with the spring training season, we always have a lot of issues on St. Lucie West Boulevard with the fact that there's spring training going on and all the snowbirds are in town, where this is just the opposite. The snowbirds won't be in town during that time frame, and it also be when schools are out as well. A good portion of it, the summer months. So. Uh, I think that helps as well, because I know people have an issue around the city with regard to traffic, but this won't be as bad in terms of the time of year that it is, because the snowbirds won't be here. And we have lots of events over at Walton One now that go on all throughout the year. The Festival of Lights draws over 10,000 people. We have many, many events that happen. Our Mid Florida Event Center is booked out pretty much year round. You have to wait a year in order to get a booking in most instances. So there's many things that are happening that are already drawing people to that area as it is.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well because, you know, traffic, parking, that's always kind of a concern to people whenever there's anything that's going on. Um, but you know, there are so many events there that just draw massive crowds. Sometimes you go there and it's unbelievable how many people, and it seems pretty comfortable for the most part. Is there for some of these games is parking already in place, like with the garage and that kind of thing, or is there going to be more built onto it, or how is that kind of envisioned?
Yes, they're going to be building another parking garage on site. So to make sure that they are accounting for, the parking challenges that we have out there for sure. And then also there will be, in the next phase after the stadium is up, they're also going to be building multifamily residential. And what I have asked for is to, when it comes to the multifamily residential, especially as it relates to our first responders, our teachers, our young professionals, our tradespeople that are coming out of college or coming out of trade school, to put in some workforce housing. And so that workforce housing is relative to the salaries that we have right here in Port St. Lucie. So it gives the opportunity for our young people to be able to live in Port St. Lucie, and not have those really high rents as well, to make them more affordable or attainable for them.
Yeah, that's kind of it. That's cool, especially because that area is very, you've got like HCA, you got the hospital right there, really not far
Mm-hmm.
from Jensen Beach. You've got the mall, you've got a lot of stuff down that way. So it is kind of a crossroads in many ways. So I could see how that type of housing could be, um, it could really bring people to the area. That's a cool point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. Is there anything else that you want to touch on?
I think I pretty much covered it for Walton One, but again, we're just excited. Like I said, this is going to be the catalyst for great things to come, and we're going to continue to work hard on it and make Walton One that destination point. I always make comments about how, when we make promises in the city, we keep them. Sometimes these projects take a lot longer because it's so multifaceted and there's so many complex things that you have to get through. But at the end of the day, it's making sure it's the right fit for our community, and then of course making sure that the master plan that we put in place is fully developed out. So I think we're going to see a lot happening in that area over the next several years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you want to touch on any, there's a couple things that I was thinking about, um and I'd like to know what you want to touch on, what might be most valuable for people, because there's a lot of stuff that people are talking about now. There's a lot of news that's gone on. I mean, a lot of people have been there's been a lot of engagement with people talking about, there's a program, I think, to help people with culverts, and there's a ton of new events coming up, and there's um I'm interested to see what you think. What do you think would be a good way to go in the conversation from here?
Yeah, so since we're already talking about like stadium and parks, let's talk about parks for a minute. So
Yeah.
we have Tradition Regional Park, and that is well underway, under construction right now. It is expected to open the first quarter of next year. The BMX facility within Tradition Regional Park is also under construction right now. It's the first of its kind adaptive all-wheel park in the entire world, not just the United States, but in the entire world. Um, I've been made aware that there's two other ones in design right now, but ours will be the very first one that is constructed. And that means if you have a bike, BMX bike, roller skates, skateboard, rollerblades, anything with wheels, that you will be able to utilize that facility. It'll also have a little area for parents to be able to teach children how to ride a bike, the little toddlers or young school age children to be able to ride. And so, again, that's supposed to be open in the first quarter of next year, and we're really excited about that. Yesterday at our city council meeting, we had an update on Torino Regional Park, and that park is well under design right now. We got a look at the playground that will be installed there and the splash pad. Um, we asked to be a wow factor like our Pioneer Park, and our staff really came through. And it's going to be an amazing park. We're going to have the groundbreaking for that park on December 9th, and we're really excited. Also, within the Port District in Pioneer Park, as everyone has been long awaiting for the Grove to break ground, which is the restaurants, the Salt River Restaurant. We are going to break ground on that on October 23rd in the morning. I believe it's at 10 o'clock. And so that is coming to fruition. It will be the first restaurant will be the rooftop dining, a fresh seafood restaurant overlooking the river right near the banyan tree. They will have an Italian restaurant as well, called Italian Disco. There'll be a sushi restaurant called Cannon. There will be a tequila bar, tequila tiki bar, also on site across from the restaurant next to the kayak launch. So really rounding out that area and keeping that promise of what that is going to be. So we are really excited for that groundbreaking. And then we expect by 2027 that will be open, if not sooner, depending on how the construction goes with that group. So we have a lot of parks projects going on. Also have a lot of infrastructure projects going on because of the fact that we are now 260,000 residents. We just got our most recent numbers from the state, and we had an additional 6,500, I'm sorry, residents moved to the city of Port St. Lucie between April 1, 2024 and April 1, 2025. It was definitely a drop off because the prior year we got 14,000 residents. So it's nice to see a little bit of a slowdown to give us a little tiny bit of a breather, because as we know, we're going to continue to grow as a city because of the development rights that were granted so long ago. So and we have to make sure that we're keeping up with infrastructure, and we have many projects in the hopper. Everywhere you drive around the city, you can see that there is construction going on, because we have to make sure that we are putting in the infrastructure necessary to address the growth issues.
Yeah, that's a lot to touch on. The infrastructure, I think, is an interesting point, because it's kind of, I guess in many ways, infrastructure in a lot of areas is kind of never ending. You're kind of always playing whack-a-mole or trying to keep up, but especially in Port St. Lucie. I'm glad you corrected 65,000 to 6,500. My head was about to spin.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? It's funny.
Well, we've had so many people.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, but it is nice. It's nice to have a bit of a slowdown. I think a lot of maybe markets are feeling that now, so it's nice to have that here. And I'm glad that you brought up. I was going to bring up the parks because I think Pioneer Park had won one of the Florida People's Choice Awards earlier this month or last month, and that was something that we had talked about.
Yes.
I think last time we had talked, and the Grove, like the renderings look really like, I mean, they look unbelievable. If they can get anywhere close to what the plan is there, it looks just amazing. And so far, that whole port district is just, they've really outdone themselves.
Yeah. Pioneer Park is amazing. Like I said, we won the Parks Award, and we are very happy about that because it was a People's Choice Award. So people got to vote on that park and that destination point. Another point I wanted to share is, so that park's been open about a year and 4 months, and we track the number of people that visit our parks and visit our festivals. And we've had just about 500,000 people visit that park in that short amount of time. So we're really excited about it, and so happy that people are happy with the park and enjoy going there. And yes, that restaurant destination point, the Atlas Group, who is constructing that and running that, has committed to have it be upscale dining, have it look beautiful, have it be that place where you could walk around, sit, and enjoy. And then also we have the overwater stage that's right there. And so they'll also be able to utilize that for, some bands and outdoor music, which is another thing that our residents said that they were looking for. So that will also be able to be programmed into it as well.
Yeah, and the botanical gardens has worked into it really nicely. A lot of times it's kind of, you're never really sure how things are gonna work in together, but especially during PSL and Lights, we'd gone there for the PSL and Lights event last year, and it was really cool how a lot of that really ties in the Port District, the Pioneer Park, and then into the botanical gardens. It all flows really nicely. So I'm excited to see how that how that phase one goes for the Grove.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other component, which you just reminded me of, is so one of the things our residents said also is they want more trails. So on the side where the Pioneer Park is and in between the anchorage, we have a part of the park there, and we're putting in nature trails right now. Those are under construction right now so that you can walk the whole site and enjoy those nature trails. And then, of course, we have our Historical Society Museum, which is really have rounded out the area where people can go, and they can go to the beautiful botanical gardens. They can stop into the History Museum and learn about Port St. Lucie history. And the Historical Society does an amazing job. And then, of course, go and enjoy the park, walk along the boardwalk. We have the piece that was connected under the PSL Boulevard Bridge now, so you can walk the full expanse of the boardwalk all the way up to the boat ramps. So it's really turned out to be an amazing destination point for our city. So it's all very exciting.
What's the completion date for? It's funny. I've driven by Tradition Regional Park so many times, and I always see the progress that they're making there.
Yeah.
It looks amazing. What's the
Yeah.
completion date for Torino Regional Park? I mean, I've seen a lot of the renderings, and I know they're starting to kind of the planning's underway. Do you know what the date might be for someone to go out there?
It'll be 2027. I'm not sure what time of year yet, but as
Yeah,
we get closer, we'll be able to give you more information on whether it's first quarter, second quarter. So
cool.
we'll be able to give you more information as time gets on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I know that things a lot of times they'll get a lot of buzz, and then people forget about them for a little bit. It gets a lot of
Yeah.
buzz, and then it's kind of forgotten, and then it starts to pick back up. So I'll keep my tabs on it and see how things are developing. The other thing I was going to ask is the people were talking about the Southern Grove area this week. I'm interested to see what you think is going on there. I
Mm-hmm.
know there's obviously a lot of development there that kind of was um, probably approved or baked into the cake a long time ago. I think that there's a lot of apartment units and that kind of stuff going out there. But is there anything that you want to talk about as far as that region and what's to come there?
Sure. So it's almost fully built out. Out of the 1,200 acres that we took on back in 2016 in that 20-year master plan, just in 6.5 years, we've been able to develop all but 105 acres of that entire area and sell the parcels and have our economic development corridor built up. As you see what's going on out there, you have FedEx, you have Cheney, you have Oculus Surgical coming out of the ground, we have Excel, Tamco, and so also the city of Port St. Lucie owned the corner of Becker Road and Village Parkway, and we wanted to make sure that's a commercial piece, and we wanted to make sure that went to a commercial developer who is going to really make that area a destination point as well. So the Sansone Group has won the bid on that, and so we'll see more development coming forward and what their plan is going to be to develop that parcel. As you see, you have a Lowe's coming out of the ground right now out there. There'll be another Wawa coming out of the ground. It is slated for more homes because those are the development rights that were granted all those years ago. So it's going to continue to grow out there all the way out to Rangeline Road. Becker Road to Rangeline is open. That is a developer funded roadway. There are more internal roads that have to get done from the development community that they're responsible for under their obligations, under their development agreements. So as the trigger points happen with regard to the rooftops and the number of trips, we'll see more development of the roads and the internal roadway network out there. And then also more parks. So the developers are required to give Port St. Lucie the city parkland. And so our city manager is working on combining a few of the parcels that the developers are required to give us and to make sure so that they're contiguous to one another. And so he's working on that right now because we want to be able to put in another large park in that area. Stars and Stripes Park is almost complete on Village Parkway across from our brand new fire station that we were just opened, Fire Station 20, which is a little bit north of the Del Webb community. And again, right across the street is Stars and Stripes Park. That is a beautiful passive park. It is dedicated really to our veterans and our first responders, but also has some beautiful celestial components and has the planets all aligned all throughout the park in a really pretty pattern, all distance away from each other. There's a celestial sculpture that reflects onto the ground different colors as the sun starts to go down. So it's really beautiful. We're just waiting on some final punch list items to get done. That was in partnership with Mattamy Homes. And once that is done, and then we're also waiting on the restroom facility to come in there. And so once all those punch list items are complete, then we will be able to do a grand opening for that park. So lots going on in Southern Grove still. And also there is a commercial real estate developer that purchased 3 parcels from the city that he wants to put in what he calls entertainment districts. So the idea is to be able to have shopping and retail, but also opportunity for some other types of entertainment. As an example, not set in stone, but as an example, what I've been shown is there's a destination point called Chicken and Pickle, and you can play pickleball and eat get food, chicken food, chicken and different types of food there. There is another company called Pin Stack where there's duck pin bowling, and then you can also eat in the restaurant. So he's trying to find a good mix of what those destination points or those retail establishments or entertainment establishments would work best for the area. And currently, they're working hard at it, and they give me updates. And so hopefully with the next update, they'll have something in stone that I can report back to everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate you going in depth, especially in that Southern Grove area where it is kind of like, people here, you see kind of FedEx and then you don't hear much for a little while, except obviously you hear about like the units that are coming. And I know that those were approved quite some time ago. How the feedback from, I'm interested to hear the feedback that you've heard from like the Heart of Tradition and all that kind of, there's been a ton of buzz there.
Sure. So, I think now that it's up and constructed and a lot more people like it, I know there was some concern about location. I know there was some concern about who's paying for it. But the city is not paying for it. The city is not maintaining it. It is all paid for by Mattamy Homes. The CDD will be paying for the maintenance of it, is from what I understand that is out there. I've seen so many people so many people taking pictures by the Heart, enjoying the restaurants and enjoying the entire retail area out there. So it is another destination point. It's something that we're really proud of. And like I said, for the most part, there's always going to be people that don't like things. There's always going to be naysayers. That's just life, right? That's just the way it works. But for the most part, I think majority of our citizens are pretty happy with it and look at it as that true destination point. And I've been out to Amore restaurant. I've been to Sarah's Kitchen. I've been to Robik's Juice Bar. We're getting Island Pig and Fish out there.
Yeah.
And, from what I see, I'm sitting out there, I'm eating, and I'm seeing people taking pictures, people enjoying the area. So have you been out there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To see it? Okay. So, it has a nice little park area where you could sit down and just relax a little bit and hang out with your family. So, I think most people are appreciative of having that right there in Tradition.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because kind of like you had said, I guess I was out there I guess it was still early. There was a lot of buzz in general, but since then I've seen a lot of people they'll post, videos on their Facebook or their Instagram with, they're out there or they're going to like Moray or they're out there just hanging out. So I'm sure that there's a lot of buzz there, and it's nice to have another. I think for a lot of people, they maybe thought of like Tradition Square, and to have another place, a little congregation spot, it's nice to have out there, especially because there's so many moving pieces and things getting added on.
Absolutely. And then hopefully, even like I was talking about how the city manager is trying to get the developers to combine those parcels down at the end towards Becker Road.
Yeah.
We're hoping to have another destination point down there for a park that people can enjoy with some entertainment. And that's being worked on right now. So the developers are not required to build the parks. They're required to give the land, but we have had those partnerships, like said, with Mattamy, Stars and Stripes, and Tradition Regional GL Homes helped us build or built for us Riverland Paseo Park. And so Madame's goal was to help alleviate some of the pressure in the square, right, in Tradition Square. And so even though they weren't required to, they did put forth a design and a kind of verbal commitment to say, hey, we're going to help pay for this. Um, as of right now, they've kind of backed off that a little bit because I think of the slowdown in the market and everything. But we did share with them, and I shared with them, well, you made a promise about delivering something to the community to help alleviate that. And so if you're going to make a promise, you have to keep your promise. So it's probably going to take a little bit longer, and we're in the process of figuring out what that looks like. But that eventually will happen. But again, the goal is how can we, instead of taking little park sites and developing them, let's try to combine all the parcels and make a bigger opportunity for another park destination point.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome idea, especially with a lot of the feedback from like the Port District or a lot of the regional parks, the the Torino and Tradition regional parks, and the kind of excitement around those. I could see that
Mm-hmm.
being a benefit.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else that you think is useful to touch on? I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff we could talk about as far as like events that are coming up or things, but I guess is there anything that you think people should know or that you see circulating that you think is worth addressing?
Yeah, so one of the things I definitely want to address is one of what some of what our residents have said, especially over the last couple of years in our community survey, is we want more green space. We want to see less houses. And so what we're trying to do and what we've been trying to do, especially since in the survey, our residents have told us that they want us to use tax dollars to acquire parkland or green space land, is in the last few months, the city of Port St. Lucie, we have acquired over 250 acres of land that will never be homes, that will continue to be green space and potentially future parkland. There was a development on Rosser Boulevard that the owners wanted to make that into 84 or 87 homes.
Mm.
I went out and visited the site with the city manager. It is beautiful. It has a mining lake on it. It's just pristine property, and said, no way, we should be keeping this as a future park space. In our strategic plan, the goal is to get every resident within 10 minutes of a park. So we've been trying to build on that and are going to continue to build on that. And then in addition to that, the school board has had sites in South Bend and on Walton Road for decades now. And with all the growth, and they take a look at where the new schools need to be, and they determined that they no longer need those school sites. So they asked the city if we wanted to purchase those school sites, few proposed school sites, because they are right in the heart of neighborhoods as well that are already well established. So the idea of putting more homes in those neighborhoods just absolutely didn't make sense. And they are absolutely prime properties that we can keep as green space and or future park sites. So we did purchase those as well. And again, we are trying to make sure we are adding to our naturally PSL program. We're making sure that we're listening and saying any opportunity we can have to buy land and hold it for that future park site or future green space or conservation land, we're going to continue to do that. And any opportunity we have to say no more homes where those development rights aren't granted, we're taking a hard look at that as well. Because we want to make sure that we're listening to our residents, and we want those green spaces and those natural spaces. One of the things that we've been working on since 2018, again going back to putting in trails where our residents told us they want to see more nature and more trails, is we're trying to put trails in as many parks as we possibly can. So we have it in woodland trails. We have the trails going in at the port. We have trails going in at Torino Regional Park as well. So we are listening. We are making sure that we are addressing all the wants and needs that our residents have said that they want to see.
Yeah, that's a nice goal to have people within, everybody within 10 minutes of a park. And I know what you mean, taking maybe like a school zone or a school area and, making another few homes out of that maybe doesn't really have the cost benefit for the citizens. And it's funny. I think that you had mentioned that parcel in Rosser last time we talked, and I had looked that up. It really that's a beautiful spot. So the city did purchase that.
Yes, that'll be put into our 10-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and it will be planned out in the future. And all the planning for that will be based on public engagement and listening to our residents and seeing what they want to see out there. And again, keeping it as nature oriented as we possibly can, especially for that location, is going to be amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I one other thing I wanted to mention. I think that I saw somewhere that the city had. I might be butchering this, but they are going on like 8 or 10 years of lowering the millage rate. Is that right?
Oh, yes. Yes. So we have lowered the millage rate every year for the last 10 years in a row. The promise was made to our residents that every year that we could potentially lower it and possibly lower it, we are going to do so. And so we have done that. We run a lean mean organization here in Port St. Lucie. In order for uh, FTEs or full-time equivalent employees to be added, they have to fill out stringent justification forms for what that need is. And so obviously we have to add more police officers because we have so much infrastructure going in the ground. We have to add more public works employees. We have to have people maintaining and operating all the new parks that are coming online. So anything that's related to public safety and our quality of life is going to continue to be a top priority since we pride ourselves on being a safe, clean, and beautiful city. But we also made that promise. We're gonna keep our expenses, even though the inflation has gone up considerably. We're keeping our expenses down as much as we possibly can, and we're trying to find that perfect balance, and have been, of making sure we are lowering that rate. And so we've done that 10 years in a row. We don't control property values, so obviously if the taxes are going up a little bit, especially as it relates to what you pay in Port St. Lucie, because we can only really account here
Yeah.
for those two line items on your tax bill. The rest obviously goes to other taxing authorities. So in Port St. Lucie, if your valuation has gone up, it's because of the property value increase, and so the max that you can increase is 3%. But our tax, the amount of our millage rate combined with the Crosstown Parkway voter approved millage only accounts for 21% of your total tax bill. The rest goes to all those other taxing authorities. So when you see that, those two line items, only those two go to us. And another thing that we like to share, because we want to make sure you know where your money is going, we want to make sure we're being very transparent, is we have a balance and act tax tool on the city website under cityofpsl.com tax/taxes. And you could put in your taxable value into that program, and it will show you to the penny where your money goes to every city department. So you could see how much goes to police, public works, parks and rec, planning and zoning. And that's our way of showing you where your tax money gets spent, because we want to be transparent and we want to be open and share that with everyone.
That's really cool. And I guess that's probably a transparent way for people to see, sometimes people look at the city of PSL and maybe they don't differentiate that from the county, and what funds are going where and who's getting taxed what and where the dollars are going. So I guess that's a good point to make. That's really cool. So it's cityofpsl.com/taxes.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
And, yeah. And that is the challenge with the city county issue, is because it gets reported, oh, we're the highest tax county in the state. And yes, that is true, or at least one of them. I haven't checked the numbers most recently, but as far as the city goes, we compare ourselves city to city against the 20 most populous cities in the state. And of the 20 most populous cities in the state, our tax rate is the third lowest. The only two cities that are lower than Port St. Lucie is Tallahassee and Fort Lauderdale. So we're going to continue to do everything we can to keep that rate as low as possible.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that. I wanted to ask you, If there's anything that you think doesn't get enough attention from either on social media or from local or regional news, what what about the city do you think deserves more attention or should get more attention?
I would, well, honestly, from a resident standpoint, I would love to see more people at our city council meetings. I would love to see more people at our budget workshops and our strategic planning sessions, or come out and ask questions or email, or call me on the phone, call any one of us here on the city council on the phone and actually ask questions, get facts, find out what the information is. We're always open. My door is always open. I can't tell you the amount of time that I spend, talking to residents, going out, having meetings, speaking. My mornings with the mayor event that I have once a month. Come out and talk, and let's have a conversation about all the things that are going on in the city, because there is so much misinformation out there, and there's so much innuendo about what's going on. And it's really important that public engagement piece, that education piece, and communication piece is something that's really important. And I want to make sure I I spend a lot of time making sure, because it's so important, that people have correct information and factual and truthful information. Um, I'm pretty much a ask me anything mayor, as you probably already know,
Sure. Yeah.
because it is so important to me to make sure people know what's going on. But we have so many great things happening, from all these infrastructure projects to keep up with traffic and growth, and all of our parks projects, and really making sure that our strategic plan is aligned with what our citizens want to see and what they need here in our community. And we're building upon that every single day, and implementing all those things with all the resources we have available, leveraging every resource, getting as many grants as we possibly can. One thing that citizens might not realize that is important to note is that we strive for every grant dollar we possibly can. And in the last couple of years, our city has received over $50 million in grants. And that also helps offset all these high costs that we have, because every project that we have worked on in the last several years, between the estimated cost and the inflation rates, it always comes in higher, those costs. But we made a promise that we're going to get them done. So we're constantly looking for ways to save funds, to get things done at the lowest possible cost we possibly can, and leverage all those relationships and partnerships in order to receive funding.
That's great. I appreciate you kind of putting that out there too, because that's I think that's also an area where people maybe get confused with. And I think you're right. I think people, it would help for people to maybe be more engaged on any level of politics, where they kind of get an idea of um, uh, just what's happening, and making sure that they know where they're getting their information from. Um, it's really easy. Kind of, you wake up, you look at your phone, you see a couple things, and people are arguing on it, and then you kind of go, oh, okay, and then you turn it off and you move on with your life. So I appreciate you mentioning that too. That's a great way for people to get involved and maybe keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on in the city.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that things are like really easy to do and process, but when you have federal agencies involved, when you have state agencies involved, when you have the state statutes involved,
Right.
everything is complex, right? There is no easy, let's just build a park, or let's just do this. There are so many things that we have to comply with, and things take a long time to get done. Design for a road, a design for a park. These it isn't just an engineer or architect who's just drawing it out in 15 minutes, or 2 days, or 2 weeks, or a month. These things, just from a design standpoint, take about a year in order to do, sometimes longer depending on the scope of the project. And then you have to go out to construction, and that takes a long time. And there's procurement rules, and there's bid processes that have to be followed to the letter to make sure that we have open and competitive bids. And that's in every process of a project. So I think people also don't realize how long it takes and why things take so long to get done. Is notwithstanding any issues like that come up, or mistakes that come up from contractors from time to time, like we've had with PSL Boulevard South. It's taken almost a year longer than was originally projected to get done because of many various issues. But depending on the funding source and depending on what the scope is, these things take a long time because we have so many other agencies to work with and mandates that are put on us in order to get things done. So, it's kind of a little bit more technical in nature, but it's also important for people to realize what we have to go through in order to accomplish the things that we need in our community.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate you being on. It's always nice to be able to talk to you. And like you said, kind of be an open book. It's nice to kind of have that, ability to kind of want to answer the questions that people have. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on again to talk with us.
Absolutely. Anytime. I'm always available. Anytime. I'm happy to come on and talk about anything you want.
Thanks, Mayor Martin. I appreciate it. We'll have to do this again soon as things continue to roll forward as they inevitably will.
Absolutely. There'll be lots more good things to come, especially going into 2026.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Current by TreasureCoast.com. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Follow us on social media or visit TreasureCoast.com for local events, tips, and news. Have a guest or topic you'd love to hear on the show? Let us know at TreasureCoast.com. Until next time, keep riding the current and enjoying everything the Treasure Coast has to offer. See you soon.